keynote address by the Chair of Council, Mr. Mike Teke. We like this event to be interactive, so we have the question and answer session that will be controlled by the Head of Department of Mining and Survey, Professor Hendrik Grobler. Please post as many as possible questions. We will try our best to answer your questions and welcome your comment. And colleagues, note on the chat box, we will have an additional information that will include the bio of today's speakers, and feel free to look at them. Before we go to, in fact, after the question and answers, we will then have the vote of thanks by the Executive Dean of Faculty of Engineering and Built Environment, Professor Daniel Mashao. Ladies and gentlemen, please note that there's house rules. Before we start the program, to our speakers, I will request that you keep your mics mute when you are not talking. And please remember to unmute when you start to speak. And to our guests, we would like to encourage you to use the hashtag. Without any loss of time, the first speakers will be from the Convocation of the university. And the Convocation is a very important statutory body that ensures that the input of alumni into the matters regarding the university and also provides a statutory connection to its former students. I would like to introduce to you President of Convocation, Professor Boitumelo Diale, and a newly appointed executive member of Convocation, Ms. Confidence Tshilande. They will talk about reaching out to the Convocation and the role of Convocation, Alumni Connect, and mentorship opportunities. I would like to take over to Professor Boitumelo Diale and Ms. Tshilande. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you so much, Prof. It gives me a great pleasure this afternoon to address you as our dear convocants of the University of Johannesburg and the alumni of the University of Johannesburg. As I've been introduced, I'm Boitumelo Diale, and I am the president of the Convocation. My role today is to actually welcome you into this occasion and to talk to you of who we are as the Convocation since you form part of us. It is important for me that I'm not going to go through. In a week ago, we had our address or our AGM of the Convocation, where I addressed you as the convocants and the alumni of the University of Johannesburg, and you will be able to access that talk through the Alumni Connect of the University of Johannesburg. However, for those who are unable to join the AGM event, I just want to take the opportunity to introduce you to the UJ Convocation Executive Committee. I am the president, as it has been said, of the Convocation of the University of Johannesburg, and my deputy president is Ms. Zanele Mudiba, who is joining us online today. And we also have Ms. Confidence Tshilande, who is a member of the executive and also the member of the UJ Council, who will be sharing the stage with me today. Let me also introduce to you Mr. Msizi Khoza, who is also the member of the executive and a member of the council, and also finally introduce to you Ms. Wendy Winner, who's also the member of the executive. As the UJ executive, Convocation executive, we have roles and responsibilities that we really want to share with you and to be able to say to you, this is where we are going. It is important for me to talk to you to say, at this stage, we know we are doing business unusual as a country and as a world, and we are adjusting to the new normal. And together with you as our alumni, would want to invite you to hold hands with us. So as we move into the new normal as the University of Johannesburg, we can be able to make the UJ a university of choice. In making the UJ a university of choice, I want to share with you what are the roles and the responsibilities of the convocation. And just to mention a few, our role as the convocants of the University of Johannesburg is to promote a positive image and a reputation and the respect of the UJ. We further want to foster a sense of responsibility, obligation, and accountability towards the university community in general and the alma mater in particular. We also want to hold the university responsible and engage them in debates and its states and the opinions that we have and we can share with the University of Johannesburg. And our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Tshilidzi Marwala, and his executive are more than willing and welcome to hear us and to listen to how we can contribute positively to the University of Johannesburg for us to ensure that we promote the interest of the university, and in particular the interest of the convocation, including matters referred to it by the Council, the Senate, and the Institutional Forum. Furthermore, our roles and responsibilities have to do with identifying opportunities and risks that may impact positively and negatively on the convocation. We also want to identify projects and participate in projects that may elevate the convocation, but more so elevate the University of Johannesburg. So I am going to share with you the projects that we are planning as the executive of the convocation, just to bring into your confidence that in addition to the executive members that I have screened, that you have seen, we have our VC, Professor Tshilidzi Marwala, who is also part of the executive of the convocation, and we have our secretariat, Professor Kintabega, who's also the registrar of the convocation, and Mr. Nel Lidwaba, who is the senior manager alumni, and we form the executive of the UJ convocation. So in terms of our projects for 2020 and 2020 to 2022, which is our term of office, we really wish to invite you as our dear alumni to hold hands with us in terms of supporting the University of Johannesburg financially in ensuring that we build the female residence that is taking place currently at Soweto. The building has started, but with the current situation in the country, I think our university will do much more with us contributing towards the female residence. Please, when you go onto our UJ Alumni Connect, we will put details on how to contribute and to make a difference to your alma mater. We also want to talk to you about the alumni house. We are looking forward into establishing an alumni house for you, our alumni. This is a space that we can come together as the alumni to share ideas, to share projects, to network, but also to see how do we make the UJ a university of choice and a better university, or the best university to be in the South African in South Africa, but also in the continent, as we are anchored in Africa. So we are looking forward to join hands with you. We are currently in the process of looking at how best we can have this alumni house, and our Chief Operations Officer, Professor Swart, is working very close with us to ensuring that we have this alumni house in the near future. So we are really looking forward to have you joining us. The last part that we want to invite you in, which is part of today's conversation actually, we are establishing affinity groups and chapters in the country and all over the world. So as part of the mining engineering group, as an affinity group, we really want to welcome you as the affinity group of the mining engineering sector. And we want to hold hands with you. This is just the beginning of the events, and we are looking forward to working with you closely. I will hand over to my colleague, Ms. Tshilande, Confidence Tshilande, to talk to you about the activities and the benefits that we have for you as our alumni. Over to you, Ms. Tshilande.
Thank you so much, Prof. Diale. As you have heard from the MC, I'm a member of council and a member of the executive committee of convocation. But one of the things that was not mentioned is that I'm also working as a geotechnical engineer, which makes this special affinity group very close to my heart. So this is a special occasion for me today. Basically, I'll be talking about the benefits of being an alumni at UJ and also the activities that we are involved in. So UJ prides itself in leading on the IR and has made your certificate digitally available. So you can access your digital certificate via the digital certificate platform on the UJ website, and you can view or share your certificate for verification purposes with third parties, such as your prospective employers, at no cost to both parties. Another thing that you can also get is that you can send a secure electronic academic record to yourself or third parties. For example, your prospective employers might need to see that, so you'll be able to get that at no cost at all. The academic record is an official document which is digitally stamped and also signed by the register. One of the things that we have is the Alumni Connect, which is a social platform, media platform for alumni and pre-alumni or final year students platform. You can actually reconnect with your classmates and receive ongoing educational opportunities and employment offerings by joining the Alumni Connect platforms. This platform is fully integrated with social and professional networks and enables graduates and final year students to actually expand their networks and to cultivate the culture of giving back to their alma mater in the form of mentoring of young alumni. So if you're really passionate about alumni, this is a space where you can actually get your mentees there as well. So one last thing that I want to speak about is the amazing Alumni Impumelelo magazine. In the UJ magazine, you also find some of the UJ's recent success stories, and which is why it's called Alumni Impumelelo, which means success in Zulu. Through these publications, we take time to celebrate some illustrious alumni events, research and graduates. We invite you to visit the alumni website and update your contact details in order to receive publications. So please ensure that you visit the website often and make sure that your Alumni Connect is downloaded on your phone as an app so that we can stay connected and get to engage with us as the Exco as well as other previous classmates of yours. So thank you so much, Prof. Diale and the MC. I'll be handing it over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tshilande and Professor Boitumelo Diale. We really appreciate the good work that you are doing as the body of convocation at the university. We are now going to the third speaker. And before I introduce you to our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Tshilidzi Marwala, I just want to highlight a few things on the biography of Professor Tshilidzi Marwala, who is a well-known figure. He's a Vice-Chancellor and a Principal at the university since January 2018. And I must also indicate that Professor Marwala was previously the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Research and Internationalization and also the Executive Dean of Faculty of Engineering here at the University of Johannesburg. Professor Marwala is an electrical engineer. Without going into the details of the bio, I also want to highlight the good work that Professor Tshilidzi Marwala has been doing with regards to the postgraduates, the writing of the books, and all that. He is a fellow of the World Academy of Science and African Academy of Science, as well as a distinguished member of the Association for Computing Machinery. He works and his work and opinion have appeared in publications such as New Scientist, Time Magazine, and The Economist. Professor Marwala, as the Vice-Chancellor of the university, is going to address us on the few topics which we will be much interested to hear about: the strategic focus of the university, the successes and rating of the university, He will also talk about the challenges brought about by the COVID-19 and the position where we're finding ourselves as a university post-COVID-19. Professor Tshilidzi Marwala will also proficiently share the perspective on the fourth industrial revolution and draw links to the importance of the alumni engagement as we are here. So without any waste of time, I would like to take you over to you, Professor Tshilidzi Marwala.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Professor Makhatha. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Chairman of Council of the University of Johannesburg, Mr. Mike Solomon Teke. I also would like to acknowledge the presence of the President of the Convocation, Professor Diale, and your team from the Convocation. And also I would like to acknowledge the presence of all our alumni that have joined us today. In unveiling his economic recovery plan to the nation last week, President Ramaphosa said, we need to see this moment as a rupture with the past and an opportunity to drive fundamental and lasting change, close quote. I thought about what this sentiment meant for higher education. If this is a critical juncture for South Africa, so too must it be for this industry. After all, our university serves as a microcosm of South Africa. Though many of you have not been students for some time, you are part of the UJ community. I am proud of how we have managed to respond to the challenges we have faced in this period of COVID-19. But this certainly is a moment that serves us as a rupture with the past, and there is much still to be done. Our university has carved a footprint for itself in South Africa, Africa, and across the world. We are certainly a university worth talking about, and our rankings are a testament to this. According to the latest QS World University rankings, our university has risen by an impressive 62 places and is now ranked number 3 in South Africa and number 4 in Africa. In addition to being ranked so highly in the world, we are also quite highly ranked in the overall impact ranking table in the 2020 Times Higher Education University Impact Rankings. UJ was also recognized for and excelled in several specific sustainable development goals. It was ranked in the top 100 for the following sustainable development goals. Sustainable Development Goal 1, which is no poverty, it was ranked number 8 in the world. SDG 10, which is to reduce inequalities, it was ranked number 30 in the world. SDG 4, which is quality of education, it was ranked number 44 in the world. SDG 8, which is decent work and economic growth, it was ranked number 48 in the world. SDG 17, partnerships for goals, it was ranked number 50. And SDG 5, gender equality, it was ranked number 75 in the world. This is the stature you hold with you. It is through today's talk that I want to reacquaint you with your university. We want to assure you that you can be proud to call yourselves UJ alumni. Since the first rumblings of COVID-19, we have been agile, responsive, and constantly aligning itself with national strategies. Despite a seemingly challenging shift, we have certainly seen success. For instance, our undergraduate success rate for the first semester was 88% this year compared to 84.7% last year. Class attendance was on par this year with last year, while student cancellations were also on par with last year. While some students have returned to campus, our online offering continue for the rest of the year. We have worked on prioritizing students that require access to facilities such as labs or clinics, ensuring that all necessary COVID-19 health protocols and safety standards are implemented. Where challenges have cropped up around access to devices and data, we were quick to respond. We have provided monthly data packages to our students and distributed more than 5,000 devices. We are ever mindful of the inequities in our society, which plays itself out in our student population. It is not just in the teaching sphere that we are seeing success. The university has continued to participate and contribute to discussions and intellectual debates in public spaces on COVID-19. You have no doubt read about truly enterprising work undertaken using 3D printers to produce PPE, for example. Our ventilator project, created by 3D printers, has won an external tender bid of 30.5 million rands. This is one of several areas where the university has assured that it is at the forefront of this battle with this disease. We are also seeing fundamental shift in the fight for social justice. Many more than before have sounded a clarion call for greater equality across gender lines, racial lines, and class divisions. While COVID pandemic might itself become the object and subject of research, I believe that greater focus will be given to social justice issues, the utilization of technology for the good of all, and finally a quest for a just society. This will perhaps be the greatest definer of this new world order. Now we look to the future in an uncertain world. Mapping out a trajectory for a post-COVID-19 world is no easy feat because of the unpredictability of the pandemic. In this world, we envision after a vaccine, or many experts will tell you the virus persists, but we must adapt. What we are clear about is the trajectory of our university, which is upward and accelerating. UJ is widely regarded as a model for other universities in leading the fourth industrial revolution conversation in South Africa and continent. As you are undoubtedly aware in your own industries, the pandemic has served as an important purveyor of truths for our preparedness for this shift. The 4IR, simply put, is the age of intelligent machines characterized by technologies such as AI, IoT, augmented reality, and 3D printing, for instance. These disruptive technologies are fundamentally changing the way we learn, live, work, and relate to one another. Universities have to shift their roles towards a focus on emerging requirements of business, governments, and society. Because of our positioning of this University of Johannesburg in the fourth industrial revolution, our transition to manage the COVID was very smooth. Accordingly, the University of Johannesburg is the first university in South Africa to complete the academic year this year. We are going to be completing the academic year on the 20th of November. Some universities are actually going to only complete their academic year, this academic year, in March next year. So these changes that will be brought about by the fourth industrial revolution will be rapid and often unpredictable. It is crucial that our planning processes allow for constant adaptation. The ability of the continent, countries, organizations, and individuals to rapidly adapt and evolve to take advantage of the changing environment will be essential. The media space, the think tanks, government, and many other players in the field have now realized that the tomorrow they may have been imagining is already with us. UJ has led the charge actively. And very soon you will be hearing from our chairman, who is a well-known figure in the mining industry, on how the mining industry is moving to the fourth industrial revolution. In 2018, when I took the reins as Vice-Chancellor, and to build our legacy left by my predecessor, I introduced Industry 4.0 to the university as part of the already existing Global Excellence in Stature strategy. which initiated a highly successful developmental trajectory in terms of the university's global academic standing, as was adopted in 2013. Through GES 4.0, UJ intends to advance and position its strategic intent of attaining global excellence and stature in the context of the 4IR, and to support the African continent in embracing the 4IR as a leading African institution in a globally competitive environment. Importantly, UJ's approach to 4IR will have a Pan-African focus with the goal of ensuring that the continent provides at least some answers to the challenges raised by the 4IR from an African perspective. We have master's dissertations on how to 3D print your world and robots developed by students to demonstrate how programming can make inanimate objects move via coding, enabling the robot to solve a maze. This year, we launched a compulsory AI course for all our first-year students, and I would welcome those of you who are interested to take this course to contact the president of the convocation, Professor Diale. We are on the precipice of change, now even more so as we navigate the pandemic. As countries adapt to the elements of the 4IR, UJ has had to be and will be leading and challenging conventional stereotypes. Through the GES 4.0 initiative, UJ is seeking to position itself strategically within the context of the changing social, political, and economic fortunes of Africa. We are truly faced with a moment in which we can drive change, but we cannot do this alone. I remind you of this inextricable link you have with our university, a university that needs you to work with us to reimagine and reinvent the future. Ngiyabonga, kiyalibuwa, bayadanki. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Marwala. I am very sure that our alumni are very proud to be called University of Johannesburg alumni. They are proud of themselves, considering that the University of Johannesburg, regardless of the challenges that we are being faced with, we are progressing the success, and it is also going through the rankings. So it is good to be alumni of University of Johannesburg. Ladies and gentlemen, that will take us now to the keynote presentation that is going to be by the Chair of Council, Mr. Mike Teke. I would like to go through Mr. Mike's biography. I'm not going to go into the details, but it is quite interesting and very much relevant to what we is going to talk about and to the future of mining, considering that the experience that Mr. Mike is having in the mining industry. Thank you. Mr. Mike started his work as a school teacher with the BA education and subsequently served at various HR roles at the mining companies until 2007. In 2008, Mr. Mike left Impala to be one of the founding members of Optimum Code. You can see that Mr. Mike has a commendable experience and was part of the listing of Optimum Code in the JSE in March 2010. In September 2012, after Glencore purchased and delisted Optimum, Mr. Mike resigned as CEO and became a non-executive chairman until April 2015. He was appointed as a VP of the Chamber of Mines in 2010-2012, and on the 5th of November 2013, Mr. Mike was appointed President of the Chamber of Mines until 25th May 2017. He was further appointed Chairman of the Richards Bay Coal Terminal in 2012, and in 2016 stepped down to become a non-executive director. So Mr. Mike Teke is going to give us a keynote address, and his speech is going to be focusing on the impact of COVID-19 in the mining industry from a management perspective, the future of mining industry, and how he You will also encourage the mentorship amongst current graduates and alumni within the industry. You will talk about the Alumni Connect system, how it can be used to engage and mentor UJ final year students and graduates. I will suggest that while we are sorting out the technical challenge that we have, we hand over to Professor Hendrik Grobler.
Okay,
Over to you, Prof.
Good afternoon. There's two questions in the forum. The first is whether or not the session will be recorded, and I can confirm that it will be recorded and published afterwards. And then I think this might come up a little bit later as soon as Prof or Mr. Teke is ready. Can you please share the statistics shared by Professor Marwala? We've come a long way to become number 3 in South Africa, which is a great milestone. Well done, and thank you to the teams. I think the statistics might be shared at some stage or some link. We can follow up on that a little bit later. I'm sure it's available, but we're not quite sure where. Let's see the next question.
Okay.
I'm a proud UJ alumni. We need to encourage such conversations and become a prominent leader in mining for IR. I think a little bit of my presentation will address that shortly. If we can sort Mr. Teke's sound out, we will let him speak first. Otherwise, maybe I'll take over and do it from there. But let's just see if we can sort out the sound. But yes, I can tell you that it is definitely our goal to become a leader in for IR, and I think we're well on our way with that at the moment. And we will share some really encouraging details with you with my presentation shortly.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Grobler. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the technical glitches that we are having, but we will have Mr. Mike presenting soon. I propose.
If there's more questions.
Okay, yes, Prof. Grobler, are there any more questions that we can probably run through?
Nothing at the moment.
Perhaps let's rather have your presentation, Prof. Grobler, and.
Do you think we can do that?
No, let's. Do you suggest that we wait a little bit, that they sort out some challenges? Okay. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we will wait a few minutes to have Mr. Mike presenting, and Prof. Grobler will then later on share some slides on the mining and mining survey, some information, and then we'll give you an opportunity to ask us some questions, or we will go through the questions on the chat box.
If any questions come up, we'll answer them while we wait.
Okay. Okay, while we are waiting, perhaps we should give Professor Grobler a chance to present so that we don't waste much time while we're waiting for Mr. Teke. Prof. Grobler. Okay, so just 2 minutes. Okay.
He's linking to another PC, so let's.
So he's okay. Mr. Mike Teke is linking to another PC. We'll give him just about 2 minutes.
Okay, so I will do my presentation now, and then I think Mr. Teke will follow afterwards.
Yes. Thank you very much, Prof. for taking over.
Thank you. So let me just share that. So thank you for the opportunity. Hopefully our sound problems will be sorted out soon. Just in brief, I want to share some of the 4R initiatives that we are following, both in the faculty as well as in the Department of Mining Engineering and Mine Surveying, and just show you what exciting prospects we have. So you might be familiar with the Doornfontein campus. If you haven't been on campus for a while, the Quebeca cluster building was initiated somewhere in the late 2012s, around there, and the basement stood basically empty. So we saw that as a perfect opportunity to develop a training mine in the basement of the Doornfontein campus. And I'm happy to report that we hope to finalize construction by the end of the year. So for the mining alumni, the terminology might make more sense than people from a non-mining environment, but basically we will be simulating a mine, including an elevator or a shaft, as the guys would know it, through which our students will enter into the mine. There's a couple of tunneling experiences. The tunnels are about 150 meters long, and we've also got some stoping or mining excavations, both as a narrow tabular, which is what we normally know as our gold and platinum mines, but we also have a small coal mine experience. And in this experience, we are building in virtual reality exposures. So we have, as you can see on the screen there, a virtual reality screen on which the students can mark off time and charge up holes and actually do a virtual reality blast of an excavation. And we can also then even assess the students on the accuracy of their marking off and their explosive timing. There will also be other experiences within this domain as normal sort of practical training, where the guys will learn how to install services and make safe. And there will also be a large virtual reality center. Now, part of this virtual reality center will use this physical mine infrastructure as a basis for augmented reality. And our hope is that within the next year, we'll be able to diversify the experience, that a student might be able to experience a diamond mine on the one day and be able to access the same facility tomorrow and have it as a coal mine. And that we will do with our virtual reality headsets, and we are actually developing some processes as far as that's concerned. Just to show you the underground stoping, this is just over 1 meter high, 1 meter high. It's 46 square meters, and we will be installing support, roof support in here that we can monitor. And our students will also be able to go in here and learn how to put in support and make a place safe and correct for mining. So this is literally photos that was taken last week, Friday, and we're really excited to show you this. This is part of the haulage and conveyance structures that is being built at the moment. Just to show you, we're nearing completion now. So some of the augmented reality would then be to charge up a face with explosives and actually be able to blast it in a virtual reality world. And we're doing that with a major sponsorship from Sibanye-Stillwaters, which will be renewed for the next 3 years, and also some virtual reality partners that are assisting us in building these. You can see here an example of a virtual reality center being built in an underground environment at one of the mines. And our hope is to have a similar sort of experience in our mine on campus in a very short time. So our laboratory at the moment exists of some HTC Vive virtual reality headsets linked to gaming computers that was donated to us, as well as some standalone Oculus Quest virtual reality headsets, which we hope to be using soon and convert some of our current reality experiences for mining into these standalone headsets. And if things work out properly, these virtual reality headsets will actually allow students to interact as avatars in a group in this mining environment. We've got a 3D laser scanner that we are using to capture real images from mines, wherever we are allowed to go in and actually capture an environment. And the hope is that we can then use that environment in the laser scanning field to actually acquaint our students with different environments, both nationally as well as internationally. And we'll also be using 360-degree cameras to capture some of that. So here's just a very brief summary of some of our partners that we are dealing with at the moment. And I'm proud to say a number of these logos that you see here have some of the UJ mining alumni in the midst or at the head of the organizations, and we're very proud to do that, and hopefully we can establish more collaboration in the short time. This is just a plan view. I'm not going to bore you with that now, and if I can, I wish to switch off the sharing, and then let's see if there's any other questions that's happened at the moment. And in the meantime, I don't know if we are at a point where we can get Mr. Teke going again.
So, Prof. Grobler,
thank
you very much for the presentation. And I will not start to mention any of our alumni as per your screen. I will not do justice on all of them, but we really appreciate the view and showcasing the involvement of our alumni on this on the future of mining engagement. So in the meantime, while we are waiting to hear whether Mr. Mike Teke is audibly connected,
Questions and answers.
Okay.
Okay, I can do that.
May you please go on with the questions and answers.
Okay, so there's a question which I'm going to open up to anyone that can possibly answer it, and that is it possible to study across fields, especially in postgraduate, if I'm interested in 4IR computer sciences and I have a BSc in zoology? I don't know if I can open that up to the floor. Prof. Daniel?
No problem. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I see the question about whether one can study across fields, and yes, indeed. That is what the fourth industrial revolution is all about. It's not anymore being a single specialization. One really needs to study across. That's only where we find new innovations and new areas of research. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Daniel. And I'm sure if you are really interested in 4IR, Prof. Daniel, you can contact him and he'll be very glad to help you as far as that is concerned. Then I've got a question here. Does our curriculum cater for the future of mining? I think I can answer that one. Yes, we recurriculated 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and we actually have our first contingent of honors degree students, both in mining engineering and mine surveying coming out. And as Prof. Daniel has said, even in our mechanical engineering and electrical engineering and all the other engineering components, we are all preparing our students for the new industrial revolution and also artificial intelligence. Right, the next question is, UJ Mining is a university known very much for the intensive practical component it has offered. This has changed with the new program. How is the university ensuring UJ students remain as relevant regardless of the practical year that's been removed? Hopefully my presentation showed a little bit of that in the sense that our training, mine and simulation on campus will prepare the students for quite a number of practical experiences. We're hoping to combine experiences also with some of the other faculties and departments on campus, but obviously there is no substitute for real underground mining, but as far as possible we are exposing them to a much more varied field than probably in the past, where we were mostly gold intensive and maybe coal intensive. We've now got all these other commodities, and with the virtual reality and augmented reality, we can actually take students into different environments and also teach them how to visualize and plan using these techniques. I'm paging down just to see if there's any. Thank you, Professor Marwala, for making a huge impact to you and your team. This is good. Then there's good afternoon. I was wondering if part of the presentation might touch on the sector's plan for dealing with social, environmental, and economic challenges.
Thank you once again, Prof. Yes, as we have said, that the fourth industrial revolution is really multidisciplinary, and almost all our new courses now do include a multidisciplinary nature. We have just introduced a Masters of Energy, and if you look at the content of the course, it really includes the political landscape, it includes the energy, and it also includes the humanities, about how people are impacted. So we are working a lot more multidisciplinary than in the past, where things were done in a single discipline.
Thank you, Prof. Daniel. Just on that as well, the major sponsor for this virtual reality training center that we are building from Sibanye, we are actually in discussions as far as actually addressing this as part of our training and part of our curriculum for the mining engineering as well, because obviously this is part of the mining company's reporting structures and social responsibility. Also our first years, all of our first year engineering students, in fact, I think all of the UJ students have a citizenship module that sort of opens them up to more of the social and environmental side of that. I hope that answers some of that questions, Dr. Healy. I'm going on with some more questions.
Yes, Prof.
Right, so the next one, a question was posed to me by a few graduates who need further training to at least obtain their blasting certificates, which will give them a better opportunity at employment. So,
hello.
There we go. I think Mike is back.
Yes, it sounds like.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks. On the phone or on my computer? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Mr. Teke. Yes.
Perfect.
Can I start?
Mr. Teke, we can hear you clearly. And
can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
All right. Good afternoon, and sorry about this, guys. I say to the people who work with me in the office, technology is not like witchcraft; it must work all the time. Can we start? Thank you guys for the invitation, and thanks for making sure that you become part of this presentation. Thanks, Anya. Would you like to sit in? I'm working with a company secretary, and she wants to listen as to whether I'm talking nonsense or I'm talking sense. Thank you. 1 second. Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, Prof. Marwala asked me to talk about the future of mining. And I've been listening to the conversation as it unfolded this afternoon. I'm one of those privileged people in the mining industry because I am the chairman of council at the University of Johannesburg, which is something I'm proud of, to assist Prof. Marwala to build his institution. But secondly, I sit on the advisory board of mining at the University of Pretoria. I know you will shoot me for that. And thirdly, I'm very close to Professor Cuthbert Musingwini at the University of the Witwatersrand. So my loyalty when it comes to mining is in mining. And if we look at the most important part of our industry, you know, we say if it's not grown, it's mined. And that's the belief. If it's not grown, it's mined. And right today, we're going to talk about mining. I'm not going to talk to you about agriculture. The industry that we operate in, it's a business of billions, but ultimately it's about people. I listen to a lot of people who are interested in working in the mining industry. Why? Because they think you make billions, you make lots of money, you talk size. It's a big, big business. It's big, sizable companies. Yeah, you do come across mines which are called small mines, but ultimately this business is about people. Now, was global mining affected by COVID-19? You know, all of us were hit by this uncertainty. And when you lead a mining group, when you lead a mining company, when you lead an industry and you operate in a country like South Africa, the most important thing, it's not about your profits that you worry about. It's not about the profits that you worry about. You worry about the people. The second part is that we were fortunate enough, some of us, for instance, if you operated in the coal mining sector of the mining industry, and you were called an essential service because you were supplying Eskom, you had to make a plan that during this COVID-19 period, you deliver. You had to make sure that you deliver and ensure that you protect the lives of those employees. Now, all the employees we work with, and a lot of you still don't understand, you think employees are living in hostels. Employees in the mining industry, most of them have got homes, they go home in the afternoon, and we had to ensure that they are transported safely. We had to ensure that they've got PPE, and we had to ensure that when they go back to their homes, they should not put their families at risk. And what I'm proud of with this mining industry is the fact that there was great partnership, there was great collaboration between us and different mining companies. I'll give you an example. When testing was happening, Anglo-American, Exxaro, Seriti, and different other companies, we came together and said, who's got which facility? And we made sure that we shared those facilities. There was no competition, there was partnership, and we collaborated. The mining communities within which we operate in, they benefited out of us and we benefited out of them. What do we mean by that? We mean when employees go back to their communities, at the end of the day, they have families. And we had to deal with all these unknown risks. That is why where I sit today, I'm saddened to say that we lost 190 employees as a result of COVID-19 in the mining industry. It's a sad story. Our sincere condolences to all those families. Our dream was that no one was going to die as a result of COVID-19. Unfortunately, several people passed away, but we continue to be relentless in ensuring that everybody stays safe. Now, this is the contribution of the mining industry in the economy of South Africa. We're still strong. We're still a big employer. We still contribute to GDP. We still contribute in terms of fixed investment. Though we would like to see more investment. Why? In exploration opportunities so that we can build new mines. I know a lot of people don't like mining. I know that we disturb the land, but the reality of the matter is that we still play an important role in terms of exports. We export a lot of our iron ore, we export a lot of our manganese ore, we export a lot of our coal. This year, probabilities are that we may find ourselves exporting still more than 70 million tons of coal out of this country to different destinations. Is this industry safe? I read a book written by Professor Marwala, Closing the Gap. In page 52, I think he's talking about the mining industry having reduced fatalities. It's very true, Prof. Marwala. We've seen a substantial decrease. You know, in 2003, there were 270 fatalities in the mining industry in 1 year. Last year, in 2019, there were only 51. Yes, one fatality is one too many. We cannot afford that. We are driving a milestone to go to zero harm by 2024. And we want it to be early because we cannot afford to see any of our employees dying in this mining industry. So safety is very important. Where do you play a role, Prof. Marwala, with the fourth industrial revolution? I'd like you to come and visit our mining industry, to come and see what things like proximity detection systems are doing. You must come and see how, when people walk into the lamp room in the morning, in the past, you used to have several people waiting for you, giving you your lamp, giving you a rescue pack, and then you go underground. These days, you arrive, there's a machine in some of the mining areas where we have tested the use of eye recognition or the recognition of your iris. And your locker opens up, and then you can get your lamp and you can get your rescue pack. And all those are charged over a period of 24 hours and you're ready to go underground. That's the contribution of the fourth industrial revolution. Not that we are an old industry, the smokestack industry everybody's thinking about, or quite a number of people are thinking about. But like any good story, our hero is deeply flawed. The mining industry makes mistakes, ladies and gentlemen. We do make mistakes, and in the past we have made mistakes. You know, mining enabled discrimination and unity at the same time. When I grew up, I worked in the mining industry. I used to understand that there were people who stayed in hostels. There were different nations who were staying in hostels. You had people from Lesotho, you had people coming from Mozambique, you had people coming from different areas around Africa, which we call those places labor sending areas. And I'm sure a lot of you will relate to DEBA, the Employment Bureau of Africa. It was discriminatory. People stayed in hostels. Families were left on their own because their husbands had to go to the mining industry to go and seek livelihoods. What has changed? There's unity now. We're trying to ensure that, one, the eradication of hostels, making sure that every employee in the mining industry lives with their families. When you knock off in the afternoon, now I'm not going to talk about the program that you watched on TV called Khumbule Khaya. In the mining industry, the Minerals Council of South Africa has got Khumbule Khaya. It's a program that says, when you arrive at the mine in the morning, remember that you've got a family that you left at home. And therefore, that is why I'm saying mining industry, whilst people know it as a discriminating industry, we have built unity amongst nations, we have built unity amongst employees. There's an interesting story I want to share with you about Fanagalo, or look-alike, or look-like. This is a language that we use in the mining industry, and I thought I should pick on this industry and say to you, going forward, you still go underground, you still go to the mine, you still find a lot of people using this language. We still use it in the industry. Different income groupings have come together and it was called the Pidgin language. Why? Because it was a mix of English, Afrikaans, and Zulu and Xhosa, and at the end of the day, people were trying to communicate. They were trying to communicate, and somebody came up with a story that we must end this language, it's discriminatory. Whichever position you take, these days, the mining industry is employing a young generation and we're employing local. So when you go underground, you find that most of the sections that have impressed me, ladies and gentlemen, it's black females, it's white females, ladies who are taking control of the underground areas of the mining industry. Now, 30 years ago, if I said to you, would a female work underground, the first thing you would have told me was that, where do we find PPE? Personal protective equipment for females. B, women are not the same shape as men. 3, women are weaker than men. You are lying. Women have proved to us that they are the best mine overseers. 4 men, actually we should be turning around and calling it 4 ladies. Why? Because they are the ones who are leading men underground. Fact of the matter, I'm using the story of Fanagalo that it has built unity, it has built that spirit of camaraderie. But reality of the matter, if this language were to die tomorrow, it will still be part of the history. And Prof. Marwala, your team and everybody, this industry has a great future, it has changed, and you must come and see the young leaders who are produced by these very universities. Especially, I emphasize the employment of women in the industry. We're trying our best to eliminate discrimination. We're trying our best not to put these ladies in danger. What I mean by that, because historically, this industry was known to be a male-dominated industry. Now, there's a big story somebody told me about Risikera Fisher Masimu, meaning don't burn the milli fields or don't burn the fields. In other words, don't destroy a legacy, don't destroy where you make your livelihood. And that's the message I always say to people, rather than shutting down these mines because you think they are not doing well, let's make sure that we find a way to make them better places. Let's find a way to make them better places, as in the better places where people can care, can develop, can find a way of making a livelihood. How will you make sure that the 4IR does not discriminate? 1, when I go underground, we've been talking about testing of cameras to identify people who go underground, because you've got a lot of people who may go into the mine and want to go underground simply because either they are going to commit a criminal offense, which include things like stealing of cable and the like. There are cameras that are identifying people, and Prof. Marwala has spoken a lot about cameras that are discriminating against Black people and identifying Caucasian people and the like. We need to watch that. Underground, there's one thing that we talk about, which is called man-machine interface. In other words, machines are moving underground, people are moving underground, and we know that quite a number of fatalities have been caused by that interface. And what happens, ladies and gentlemen, is that we've got what we call PDS, proximity detection system, where we've put in a system in these machines. When a person comes closer to the machine will make a sound to warn you that there's somebody around this area, in your area, and make sure that you drive safely. Number 3, right now in the open cast area, we no more have security people walking around at night and chasing people because they are coming to steal cable or something like that. We have been helped by drones that have got cameras with infrared, that at night these drones are flying all over the mines to make sure that they're protecting the mines, they're protecting the lives of the mines who are working shifts. So the 4th IR, whilst we embrace it, we think it's novelty, it is real, but reality of the matter, whilst we implement, let's make sure that we're not discriminating against anybody in the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, mining creates development and deep poverty at the same time. You know, I've seen families who've been displaced in mining areas in the past, people who've been displaced because some people wanted to mine. This game has changed. This game has changed. What I mean by that is that mining creates development. Mining has created what we call modernity, the march to modernity, as Professor Kishore Mabobani talks about. We arrive in a village, not at Dutuni, Professor Marwala, because there's no gold, there's no coal, there's no platinum in that area. When we arrive at a village, we need to make sure that the communities that are displaced must be looked after. We need to make sure that they share in the creation of wealth. We need to make sure that they benefit out of what we're doing as mining companies. We need to make sure that our neighbors, communities, employees, anybody who's got a vested interest as a stakeholder is embraced by us as an industry. When you look at things that have created a better life for all of us, when people were not having ablution facilities 20, 30 years ago, and they arrive today and there's a flushing toilet, you must know that some of the equipment in there is there because of the raw materials we mined and produced, the pipe that moved the water to create a better life for people. So one of the things that make life easier for myself as a leader in mining is to accept that we have created deep poverty, but at the same time, we have accelerated on development. We've created cities, and we have to be embraced as an industry that we are creating development. And we have to acknowledge that deep poverty was created because quite a number of miners in the past have probably not mined responsibly. The game has changed. You talk to the Minerals Council of South Africa, we are about neighborliness. We are about marching to modernity, as they call it. And we are about creating an environment where communities can embrace mining. What can the 4th Industrial Revolution learn from the mining industry? 1, you can learn that for the 4th Industrial Revolution is going to help us advance in many ways, but at the same time, the 4th Industrial Revolution will become possible because you've got computers that you use every day. These computers that you use, ladies and gentlemen, it's as a result of the mining industry providing you with the materials to be able to build them. When you talk to Tesla today, they will tell you about copper, they will tell you about lithium, they will tell you about all the materials that they are going to use in building that car. That car runs not on petrol, but it runs on electricity. Now, if you talk about what is happening with your cell phones, any gadget you use that has advanced your life, ladies and gentlemen, you can learn that the mining industry has played an important role in making sure that the 4th Industrial Revolution, in fact, from the 1st to the 2nd to the 3rd to the 4th, mining industry will remain there. It will play an important role. I know a lot of people are scared to answer the question, is the 4th Industrial Revolution going to make us lose jobs? Yes, you are. Quite a number of jobs will be lost. But at the same time, quite a number of jobs are going to be created. When you go to the mines, when you went to a mine 30, 40 years ago and you found 20 machines, yellow machines digging for coal as an example. Today, if you walk into an open cast mine where there's a drag line, you find that one drag line is operated by one drag line operator, and there's one person on the ground who's called the groundsman. And that drag line, I have found again, that the best drag line operators are females. I don't know, something with their hands, they do a great job, probably because there's something that God gave them as a skill. They do well in operating this big machine called a drag line. And the mining industry has continued to embrace those changes. Now, lastly, it's sunrise again in mining. Why? Because all of you who might be maybe listening, you turn around and say the mining industry is a sunset industry. It's finished. It's a smokestack industry. It's dirty. I listened to somebody making a comment that the mining industry pays far low wages. The minimum wage in my company is far superior to quite a number of institutions. We pay extremely well. I look at communities within which we operate. Yes, there are mining companies that have blasted houses, people's houses have cracked. There are times where some people have become not responsible and left places not rehabilitated, yes. We've seen fatalities in the mining industry, people dying, families left destitute. And we've seen people picking up illnesses as a result of some activities. But I call this a sunrise industry in that, one, we've embraced neighborliness. We've embraced that you are our neighbor next door. You are our neighbor. As we mine next door, we want you to benefit in job creation, in getting a job with us, or being an entrepreneur and running a business and supplying us with something as a mine. We have created a good life by partnering with institutions, universities, high school, by giving bursaries. We have created a better life for all by ensuring that we embrace the fourth industrial revolution, by ensuring that we are advanced. 10 years ago, not far away, I used to get a spreadsheet on my table, a PowerPoint an Excel spreadsheet with production numbers on a Monday. And that production was that happened on a Saturday and a Sunday. And it was late on Monday for me to react because I received that information on Monday. Today, I get information real time, live, as people mine. I can look on my cell phone and see the conveyor belts running. Why? Because of the fourth industrial revolution. Have I refused to embrace that? No. The leadership of the mining industry, ladies and gentlemen, in South Africa, mining has a great future. We need to explore more. Remember something in closing. We produce great leadership globally. Glencore is run by Mr. Ivan Klassenberg, who studied at Wits University. Sir Mick Davis, who is in London now, used to run Extrata. Mr. Jan du Plessis was the chairman of Rio Tinto. Mr. Marius Klopas was the CEO of BHP Billiton. All those people were South African executives who were raised by South Africa and South African mining industry. This industry is not a sunset industry. We will still play a role in the development and the growth of this country into the future. I'm going to pause now and take your questions. Thank you. Am I talking to myself?
No.
Hope not.
You should have me as well. That lady is talking.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm sure they should have phoned me if ever.
Yeah, they should find me. What?
I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
So
It seems there is a technical challenge where colleagues are not hearing me. Mr. Teke, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. I was actually saying that you have spoken to all of us, the university, the community, the faculty, And you have spoken the sunrise, the future of mining. And this also throws challenges to us as a faculty to see what we do and how we contribute to the future of mining. So in the meantime, I will ask Prof. Grobler to go through the questions, and perhaps do you probably have maybe take about 2 or 3? We don't really have.
I'll take 20, it's fine.
we understand that you are so much courageous about the future of mining, Mr. Teke, but we will only allow a few. And some of them they have been answered on the chat box. Any questions, Prof. Grobler?
Mr. Teke, yes, you've been speaking about the sunrise and also the perception that mining is a sunset industry. There's been a couple of questions on that. Could mining become a sunset industry specifically with the resources such as coal? And if so, when do you anticipate this will be? What would the implications be for someone like Exco who predominantly burns coal to generate energy? I don't know if you'd like to add something there.
Yeah, let me comment on that. Is that okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, Mike, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Number one, you know, South Africa has got ample resources as in lots of coal in the Mpumalanga region still, lots of it. We've got mines that are still going to run until 2050. There's a mine that's being built at the moment, it's called New Lago. That mine is going to supply Kusile Power Station until 2065. I don't know how old you'll be. So then we've got resources in the water bag. But ladies and gentlemen, please understand something. People who mine coal like me, we are not environmental denialists. Climate change is a reality. The global warming is fact, it's there. I'm not like I'm a president of some country who denies that. I'm real about it. But a developing economy like South Africa, we've got 15 coal-fired power stations, 15. Those coal-fired power stations still have to burn. And these power stations, for them to burn, they will need coal. The language that we speak, it's called just transition. In other words, we need to transition from a fossil fuel energy environment and embrace solar and embrace wind and embrace nuclear possibly to make sure that we advance our economy to a greener economy because we are a carbon emitter with fossil fuels. But you must be responsible with that just transition. You will remain with what we call base load. Base load will always be coal. You might end up being left with 11 or 10 coal-fired power stations and convert the other 5 into either gas or something else. So reality of the matter, coal will still have a future for the coming 20 to 30 years.
Thank you, Mike. There's a follow-up question on that from Dr. Healy. To follow up the question with the attitude of banks towards funding new mining projects, considering the call for green technology. Yes. Could you maybe say something about that for us, please?
Yeah, look, we know that globally, we are seeing a lot of institutions, especially the investors. Let's start with the investor community. There are investors who come from those countries that are pushing hard, that are pushing against fossil fuels. Interesting enough, countries that have made money out of oil now are turning against the fossil fuels. I understand that because of global warming, and we're worried about climate change. So what are they doing? They're putting pressure on these companies, especially where they invest, and they are saying, get rid of coal or get out of coal, or we will disinvest from you. Banks have unfortunately as well found themselves in that position where they are forced not to invest in coal. They are forced that they must walk away from coal and embrace solar, they embrace wind and renewable technology. My argument is that whilst we are on that path, it will be responsible for us as a country, as a continent, as the world, to understand the whole principle of one, just transition, that we cannot just switch off the 15 coal-fired power stations in South Africa. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, we load shed right now with these 15 coal-fired power stations. Can you imagine if you shut them all up? What will happen? We are a developing economy. Let me make one point and then I can stop. I will stop. The USA, they generate coal, they generate their electricity, 27% of their electricity still comes from coal. They have coal mines. They are shutting down the coal-fired power coal-fired power plants. But the interesting thing is one, which I've challenged them, they don't shut their coal mines. They still export their coal mines. In other words, they are saying somebody must die of their coal. Why? If they were serious about that agenda, let them shut the coal-fired power plants and the coal mines. With us, we don't have that luxury because our past is not as deep as theirs. They can borrow money as much as they want. They're talking trillions of debt. And their economy can afford to service that debt. In our case, we've got 60 million people in South Africa. We've got 14 other countries around the SADC region who cannot support themselves. They still depend on us to export energy to them. So the banks have to join the just transition route. And yes, they are facing a challenge globally from investors who are saying, get out of coal.
Thank you, Mr. Teke. That's really stirring information. There's a small question on this. How would you consider the role of artisanal and small-scale mining as it relates to renewables? And
Yes.
maybe for IR as well, please.
I'll tell you what, there are new mines that are coming up, especially people are starting to, we know there are new types of minerals people are mining. We're talking about lithium, quite a number of people. Somebody the other day phoned me and asked me about what do we mean by rare earths? They are starting to explore for those resources. And we know that such mines are not as big as a coal mine. They are not as big as a gold mine and the like. They will be smaller. For me, as a miner, having worked in this industry for a long time, I embraced artisanal mining. I embraced junior miners. There's one proviso. Let's make sure that we work within legislation. Two, let's make sure that it's safe. You don't call it artisanal mining and you find that you're flouting rules, you're cutting corners, and then people get killed in the process. Let's make sure that it's professionally done. So I support it.
Thank you very much. That's really important. I've got one last question that's come up. How do the mining industry deal with gender-based violence and sexual harassment in the mines? And then a follow-up to that is, are childcare services or other forms of support being provided to women workers?
Yes, the most important thing. Yeah, go ahead.
No, could you expand on that for us, please? Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. I must tell you one, history has shown us that we've known the mining industry to be a male-dominated industry. In fact, when people were tested in the platinum industry to check as to whether your health is okay to go underground, some of the tests were not good for women because they were seen as tests meant for men only. Today, one, we provide PPE. B, we provide opportunities. C, the leadership underground at the mine, your mine overseers, your mine foremen, your mine managers are black females, white females. There are different colors. There are Indian ladies, colored ladies who are coming into the system and they have done extremely well. We've embraced that. Has there been violence? Yes, we have seen violence. We've seen people who have obviously tried did the wrong things where violence was meted against some of the women underground. And is it justifiable? No, it's wrong. The industry has made strides. The Minerals Council right now is running a program on women in mining. That program is aggressive, is to ensure that we identify ladies who are capable of running these businesses, not running the business only underground. Right now, Anglo-American has showed you, they've appointed Natasha Feljun as the CEO of Anglo Platinum. She's proved herself over the years as the most competent CEO. When she worked at Lonmin as a COO, she has come through the ranks. It's not about PE, it's not about a window dressing. The third important thing is about women. They are great entrepreneurs. There are those who have decided, no, we don't want to be employed, but we want to be entrepreneurs. They are not entrepreneurs who supply toilet rolls or garden services at the mines. No disrespect to anybody. They are core to the business. They speak their language in the boardroom about the equipment that we speak about as men. The discrimination in the industry is coming to an end and we're working at it hard. The point you made about child services or caring for children, the National Union of Mine Workers during wage negotiations, several of these wage negotiations in the past, they've fought hard for this, and it's a hard-won battle where they have been successful. We do provide for that. There are allowances that are provided by different mining houses. There are facilities that are provided for these people where we pay for them. But reality of the matter, the industry has taken giant steps to embrace the involvement of women at different levels of their boards, not as chairpersons of boards only, not as people who sit as non-executive directors. I will take you underground. Anybody who wants a visit underground, I'll take you to an area that's run by a lady.
Thank you, Mr. Teke. Maybe one last question for you. I'm not sure how you would want to answer this. It is always on the top of people's head when they think about coal.
Any question is fine.
Mr. Teke, how do you plan to transition the move from coal to clean energy? And will workers be equipped with new skills? Is Sereti a company at large looking to go into alternative energy sources? I know it's a mouthful.
Yeah, that's a good question. Sereti, at the moment, we're running 4 coal mines, which we bought from Anglo. All of them are run as coal mines. One of our mines, Kriel, we are using solar in some of the areas. We build in solar panels to help us, number one. So they are helping us with solar panels. The second one, it is part of our strategy that we want to, we are investigating carbon capture, utilization, and storage. We're trying to find out how that technology works. Can that technology work, especially at power stations, to ensure that there's carbon capture, utilization, and storage, and maybe we can help Eskom and work with them in partnering with them. The third important thing is the issue of renewables. Are we looking at renewables ourselves? Yes, we're identifying opportunities within the mining area. As I said to you, places like Kriel mine, if you drive into Kriel, you'll see there's a lot of solar panels there. We're trying to run some of the areas. For instance, we are exploring the possibility of saying, can we run our belts using solar? In other words, transition and use solar and make sure that you don't rely on coal. But we'll still supply coal to the power station. But at least the power stations will provide clean, it will be clean energy because of carbon capture, utilization, and storage. The last important thing for us is a direct investment. When a direct investment were to be available today, which we are exploring, myself and the board, we're looking at opportunities. If there's an investment that we like and we think it's a bolt-on in terms of either wind or solar, we will look at that. Right at the moment, things like nuclear are not available because the only nuclear power station you have in South Africa is Kuwait in Cape Town, and it's owned by Eskom. But the one that's going to be built, probably it's the government that's going to control it. So there are opportunities for us. I embrace renewable energy, but let's transition responsibly.
Mr. Teke, thank you very much for that very short masterclass in sustainable mining. I think we really appreciated your feedback. At this stage, I'm going to take you off the hot seat. Thank you very much, Mr. Teke. We really appreciate it. And I'm going to hand over to Prof. Daniel Mashao for a closing statements. Thank you very much, Mike, and thank you, Prof. Daniel.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Prof. Grobler. We really wish to thank all of you who have attended this session. We apologize for all the technical difficulties that we have suffered, but I think you will agree with me that this was really worth it. We have learned so much. The engagement was so powerful. I personally as well wish it was longer so that we can be able to discuss many of these facets of mining industry. In Sepedi, my home language, they say Maleka ke makhona, makhona ke mabueleja, which means that he who does is able to do it, but he who tries will do it better next time. Or in English, they will say practice makes perfect. So we have tried, and we really do apologize for how the session went. We had practiced before, but I guess it was always those gremlins that do come in at other points. From the Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment, we really wish to extend our heartfelt thank you to the Chairman of Council, Mr. Mike Teke, As I said, I'm not really exaggerating to say that this was a very useful session. Some of the people have asked us to record it, and I hope that we have done so that we can be able to share it. The issues that were raised in the discussion and were really interesting. I have done my PhD on speech recognition, so I am really inspired when we talk about languages. One of the big problems is the disappearance of languages. When you look at Fanaga Law, it's a very interesting language that has been concatenated with different languages and how it continues to evolve. So, Mr. Teke, thank you very much for sharing that. We will engage you again and probably call you again to come and share with us some of those ideas. I also want to thank the Vice-Chancellor and Principal of the University of Johannesburg, Professor Tshilidzi Marwala, who once upon a time was an Executive Dean of the Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment. And I guess many of our audience here have been kept by him. And I just want you to know that he still continues to keep students as he was doing yesterday. He does it virtually now as indication of the move we have done to the fourth industrial revolution. We also want to thank the president of the convocation, Professor Boitumelo Diale, and also the Exco members and members of council, Confidence Tshilande, for gracing this meeting and also sharing with us about what we can do as alumni and the opportunities that are there to serve. Thank you very much for sharing it with us. We have heard that you have a lot more experience with these sessions than us, but we really enjoyed your presence. I also want to thank two of my colleagues that I work with in the Faculty of Engineering, the head of department of Metallurgy, Professor Elizabeth Makhatha, who worked here as our chair. You did a splendid job, and you know, we had all that difficulties with connectivity. That's good to see how people deal with stress and with unexpected conditions, and you did splendid. You did very well. Also, the other colleague is Professor Hendrik Grobler, who is the head of department for mining and mine surveying department. Thank you, Prof. And I'm glad that they assigned you to listen to those questions, because those questions are still relevant to us, and we will have access to them to respond to them as a faculty. I also want to thank the excellent band of organizers who made me attend about 3-4 meetings, you know, to practice and make sure that this will go smoothly. You did a fantastic job, Mr. Nell, and also all the members of the registrar's office and the Phoebe marketing. We really enjoyed working with you. I think next time we do it, we'll have learned 1 or 2 things. Last but not least, I really wish to thank you, the audience. You have made it possible. I just want to tell you how encouraging it was when I asked how many people have given their reservations that they will be coming, and we had numbers like 260 or more. So we are very pleased with that. We are very encouraged. The aim of this is to continue to have you involved with this great institution. You know, remember this great institution that you're an alumni of, the university of choice in the world, anchored in Africa, dynamically shaping the future. So your continued participation with us, helping the shapers, shaping other people who are shaping the future is appreciated. We really have a great opportunity to work together, and I'm looking at mining the moon in the future. So all these techniques that are being learned right now, they are not going to go to waste, because there's still more work to be done. And thank you very much for your attendance. I'm looking forward to meeting again in a similar session and being able to do that. Thank you. We conclude the session. Thank you.
I will not invite us for a drink.
Virtual one. Thanks, Mr. Teke. We appreciate that. Thank you.